Now let us come to the point of formal and informal. I made a point, formal learning, increase variety. How do you do that? Leave the teacher alone. You know? This is a very, very important point I would stress. Being a teacher. And I can tell you, in IIT, in the IIT system, I can share with you, the sacred rule is teacher is supreme. Not even the director. And the director himself, often, or herself if it's a lady. So far we've not had a lady director in the IIT system. I pray that we'll have a lady director sometime soon. Okay, we have good people. I know we have competent people. It's just that these glass ceilings have to be broken slowly. And Indian society always is a slow society, no? And especially when it comes to the south of India, it's even slower. That's the way we work, very conservative. But anyway, the point is the director himself states that the teacher is supreme. There will be no intervening. Yes, when I want to propose a course, I'm just giving you the answer to the question of variety and its implementation. When I propose a course for formal learning systems, it goes through an acid test. First I have to take it within my group, convince my group members. Usually that's okay because at the minimum we want to be friends with each other, so the criticisms will be mild, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. The politics of teaching, if you want to put it that way. Okay, and then I have to take it to the department. At the department level, the kindness level cuts down a little bit because there the politics of the department starts to, it's real politics. I'm not talking of dirty politics, I'm talking of normal, healthy politics. Okay, and the assumption there when we propose a course is the job of the other guy is to shoot you down, and it's your job to survive, basically. You know, it's like a PhD viva voce. I'm sure some of you would have faced a viva voce. The job of the viva voce examiner is to shoot you down, and it's your job to stand up and escape. Okay, if you don't escape, your thesis doesn't get accepted. If you escape, well, you have the PhD, and you can probably waive it at the viva voce examiner. And if you're very lucky, he or she might even congratulate you. Okay, saying, well done. So this is the principle with which we operate. But then we have another level called the board of academic courses, where other department people are also sitting. So obviously, you can see what happens to the kindness scale. Okay, as the level of discussion moves on the x-axis, the kindness level starts dropping on the y-axis. So I have a curve like this, literally. Okay, at group level, very high kindness. Department level, little lower. Board of academic courses, quite low. Senate, that's the final place where there will be 150 professors whose very existence in the Senate is to see to it that they are smarter than the other guy. Okay. So you know what that means. So when you get a course, you say, okay, this is not there. At the minimum, they say, why didn't you put a comma there? Why didn't you put a full stop here? You know? So some criticism or the other has to come out. But this is how our variety is. So the greater the adaptability the teacher shows, the variety grows, and I become the musician I am. I don't sing the same raga the same way twice. And I enjoy my life as a teacher. So that is one way of getting variety. Coming to informal education. Why should educationists talk about informal education? It's a good question that every one of you can ask. All right, LSG, we are teachers, we are principals. Why should we talk about informal education? Is it our responsibility at all? I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think informal education is your responsibility. All I'm saying is informal education should be your passion. Why? Because the guru, all of us are in some sense gurus, by designation at least. Okay? The guru-sishya relationship in our traditions is a sacred relationship. It's not a business relationship. But I'm afraid in many places it's getting degraded to the level of a business relationship. Okay? But we must understand that there is a spirit with which the guru relates to the sishya. It is sacred. And that is why we put the guru at the exalted level of Mata, Pita, Guru, and finally Devi. Okay? And not only that, why we put Mata, Pita? Obviously Mata, Pita are supposed to take charge of informal education. As was rightly pointed out, they are supposed to do that. And Akka, Amma, Auntie, Dadaji, Naniji, I mean they are all supposed to do this informal education. Towards what? The same three things. They are supposed to keep on prodding the child in a benign way to say that, look, be at peace with yourself, be at peace with the rest of the world. Keep your grace, dignity and honor. See, I'm running this tape again and again. So they're supposed to play that role. So do your duty. Teacher has given you a duty. Your duty as a student, What's your first duty as a student? I ask all my students, and they often give the right answer. The answer is simple, to learn. So do this. So these character building happens. A lot of character building happens through informal education. But why should principals be concerned about it? Because the Guru-Shishya relationship is sacred. That is why principals have to be concerned about it. It's unfair to say that, look, you're my Shishya while you're there in my school for whatever time you are, 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours of the day, and say 5 days, 6 days of the week. After that, I switch off. I think that's the meter tends towards a business relationship if a principal or a teacher takes that kind of a viewpoint. I wouldn't take that viewpoint, I can tell you that now. Okay? It's a 24-hour relationship. It's a 24/7/365 relationship between the Guru and the Shishya. Okay, that doesn't mean you call up the Shishya or the Shishya calls you up. Actually, there was a wonderful Tamil film. I don't know how many of you remember this. Vivek calls up the doctor in the middle of the night and asks some questions. Absolutely humorous scene, outrageously humorous. I'm not talking of that kind of a relationship. I'm talking of a sacred relationship. Okay, so that happens. So how do you factor in informal education? I told you about variety and how to take care of variety. Allow adaptability, how make the teacher supreme. And you will have variety happening. And teacher will also learn. It's not that teachers are infallible. Teachers will also learn in the bargain. After all, when we launch our first, if there is an arangetram, or something equivalent to an arangetram, it's there for every course that we teach. I have to put my course. It's like what poets did in ancient times. They have placed their poets for public criticism, the poems. It's something like that. So when you do that, you allow the teacher also to learn, and the variety becomes healthy. So that part is over. How about informal education? How do we take care of informal education? Because it's ill-structured. It's not structured. Why? I started off by saying informal education, uncertainty content is very high. It's extremely high. None of us knows what lesson will be learned by whom, under what circumstances, and in what manner. None of us knows that. None of us even controls that. But there are some ground principles that we can adopt to help people learn informally by giving them a certain foundation or a structure, which is what I'm going to share with you. Ajit sir, are you here? Neha, how long do I go? Because it's 3 o'clock now. Okay.
Another 15 minutes.
You can guide me, please, so that I can quickly prioritize what I want to share. How do we do this? I'm going to share a framework which can be used to help students and their parents understand the role of informal learning, which is ill-structured, very high uncertainty. So please understand, we are dealing with a very complex subject when we are talking of informal learning, and more complex trying to integrate it with formal learning. How do you integrate? I've given you the grounds for integration. What are the grounds for integration? What are the principles of integration? Very simple. The principal and the teachers keep the Guru-Shishya relationship sacred. That's a principle. If you do that in your hearts and in your minds, I'm sure the connections will not become too difficult. If it's not done, well, then you pay the price for shifting education meter onto the business side. That's all. Okay, that's all. I mean, we are all strong believers in karma theory. You have a right to act, but then you don't have a right to what karma follows it, isn't it? So that's the way it is. Okay, fine. Reminder again, informal education, very high uncertainty and very ill structure. So what principles? Now this is where I come to the conceptual learning and experiential learning. A lot of informal learning takes place through experiential learning. It's a fact. It's an observable fact. All of us can verify this through observation. A lot of our informal learning takes place through experiential learning. Now, we have to differentiate between conceptual learning and experiential learning. How? Conceptual learning means very high structures and the rules of the game are there. Whereas experiential learning means the learner goes through an experience and learns lessons. Lessons for what? To keep peace, to keep grace, dignity and honor, to seek and struggle, struggle and find fulfillment. That's the ultimate aim of learning.